dared you and challenged you to organize so that the people, if not the president, would drive the money changers from the temple, and you did it. We are opposed to the printing press, and we are opposed to the fountain pens of the Federal Reserve bankers. Is that right? Who then is the inflationist? Roosevelt or the National Union? More than a threat was required to gain our object of driving the money changers from the temple. Why was more than a threat required? Watch the history of the 1934 Banking Act. In 1913, there had been passed the Federal Reserve Banking Act, which handed over the right to coin and regulate money to a group of private individuals incorporated under the name of the Federal Reserve Bank. This was still in our midst. Shelterless children and shelterless men and women still knocked at our door for a pittance. The Depression still waxed strong as the powers of deflation reached out to confiscate homes, to capture farms, and to keep that ever-marching army of jobless upon our streets, wondering when God in his mercy would lift his hand. Then came letters pouring into the offices of the National Union asking for action. Then came November 1935, when, motivated by your challenges, for years the American Federation of Labor has been going from factory to factory and door to door to build up its organization to help labor, and today they have less than 3 million active members. And for 30 weeks, you ladies and gentlemen, and more like you throughout this nation, have been doing a similar job for a similar purpose, and you have outstripped 2 American Federations of Labor. Oh, there was need for some action. You appreciate the fact, my dear friends, that among other things in the National Union for Social Justice, we are Christian insofar as we believe in Christ's principle of love your neighbor as yourself, and with that principle, I challenge every Jew in this nation to tell me that he does not believe in it. States to accept Christianity in all its entirety, but I am insisting, since their system of a tooth for a tooth and an eye for an eye has failed, to accept Christ's principle of brotherhood. Besides Christianity, we also lift aloft the flag of the United States and swear our fealty not only to the red, white, and blue and those symbols within it, but to the Constitution which it represents in its entirety. The socialist who will amend it into nothingness, and the Republican and Democrat who will not admit that Congress alone has the right to coin and regulate money, I challenge one of the 4 of them to make the statement that I made. found on his accession to the presidential chair that the Federal Reserve banks and their affiliates were, in the vernacular, broke. They had to run to the newly created Reconstruction Finance Corporation to borrow $2 billion in order to keep the wolf from the door. And by the wolf, in their vocabulary, they meant the depositor. Yes, he and his propagandized news agencies accuse the National Union of being inflationary. How in the name of God do you, fathers and mothers in this audience, expect your little boys and girls 30 years from now to pay back 72 billion hours of labor to those men who created it out of nothing? Are you going to leave this country worse than you found it, or are you going to fight for your children? From California to Maine, the people in the United States are still God-fearing, are still God-trusting, and are still willing to accept the theories of our Father who art in heaven. If I may speak in plainer language, of denying the right to private ownership. There is no need of communizing all the factories and the fields and the forests and the mines under a new kind of God made of flesh and blood and clay and hatred. When men become so prideful that they believe their destiny is to rewrite the eternal law of God, it's time for their fellow citizens to rise up in their wrath, the agency of ballots and not bullets, to relegate them to the pages of the past.